on the Facebook?
Yes.
Okay. We're all set up and ready. Shabbat Tov, good Tavach. It's nice to see all of you. Ken and Sharon, Adam, Stella, Chaim. It's beautiful to see all of you here with us and those that are now watching us on Facebook.
Likewise.
Shabbat Tov from a very special week. Shabbos Nachamu, a week of comfort and beginning the 7 weeks of comfort after destruction. The week where we're welcoming in Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, the happiest day of the year for the Jews in Israel. So we'll start with Havdallah. We need to have the candle. Here's the people. Okay. Just lighting the candle. We have the psamim.
Rabbi, you ready?
Yeah. Guys, Havdallah. El Yeshua si etar v'la yevchad ki yazi v'zimras yo Adonai v'yehi Yeshua Hoshiyah aftemayim bevesasoid mimayne Yeshua ladoyinoi Yeshua alamcha yibiyircha secha Selah Adonai Tzois Imanu Mizivanu Yagvei Selah Adonai Tzois Hashiyadam Boite Yanu Babach Adonai Oishiyah Hamelech Yaneinu V'yayim Kareinu Yehudim ha'voisayra B'simcha v'sasayin v'yikar Ewein tielanu Kais Yeshua says Hashem Adonai Yekra Avrim Aranan V'ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam b'yirei v'yagafen Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam b'yirei minei b'samim Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam b'yirei meirei yoesh Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam Hamavdil ben kodesh lechayil ben nar lechayshar ben Yisrael amim ben yoim hashviyi l'sheshes yemei hamasa Baruch atah Adonai Havdallah ben Kodesh l'chaim. Now taking from the blessing, the cup of blessing for wisdom, for wealth, for nachas, for health, for all the blessings of Shabbos to carry into our weekday and our week that we're going into, a week that we said before is a week full of happiness and joy, as it has in it also the Tuba, the 15th of Av, the full moon of the month of Av, the lowest, the hardest month, most difficult, catastrophic events in Jewish history, and yet at the same month, just a few days later, the greatest joys connected to marriages, all those who need to get married should very quickly find their shidduch to be able to, their match, to walk under the chuppah very, very, very quickly.
So here we lit the two candles for the.
And now we'll share a story connected to the Baal Shem Tov. This is a story also connected to the first Chabad Rebbe, Reb Shneir Zalman. This story is actually from the memoirs of the previous Rebbe who wrote the history of Chabad. The Alter Rebbe, his family going back to the Maharal of Prague, Yehuda Lowy, who lived in Prague in the 1500s, and many generations until the birth of the Alter Rebbe in the 1700s. And here is one of this is the story for tonight that has many messages, miracles to inspire us that Hashem runs the world and will make miracles for all of us. So the story goes that in a small village, not far from a town, Sharia, so there lived a fellow, a fine Jewish fellow. His name was Gershon Yitzchak. Gershon Yitzchak, like many Jews in his time, in that part of the world in Eastern Europe, made a living from renting from the landowner, the local paras. The local landowner usually were very large landowners, but were drunk people. Many of them not even very friendly with the Jews. But the Jews would rent land. He rented lakes and rivers, and his business was for fishing. And he used to fish and he used to sell the fish. But also he rented an inn. And this was his parnasa, this was his livelihood. And he did pretty well. He wasn't a very learned man, but he was a very religious man. He did quite well for himself. He had already some married children. They were doing, he was helping them in their livelihood. They were working with him. Everything seemed to be going very well. And even though he wasn't learned, but he was religious, and he made sure he kept her mitzvahs fully and completely in the way you're supposed to do it. But then, as we say in Hebrew, Vayehi Hayoim, the day came, and a new priest moved into town. These are all religious countries, religious places. A new priest comes into town, and this priest hates Jews with a passion. And he decides he's going to make the lives of the Jews miserable. And one of the most successful Jews in the town was Gershon Yitzchak. So he specifically had his eyes on Gershon Yitzchak to hurt him. And the priest started to tell the people, do not support this guy. The Jews are our enemies. The Jews try to hurt us, they don't believe in our God. They put curses on us. And he started to drive people away from supporting Gershon Yitzchak and his inn and his other businesses. And before long, Gershon Yitzchak lost a lot of money. He fell in arrears. He couldn't pay his rent, etc., etc. And he had a very hard time. Now, the the squire, the landowner, he wasn't very Jews, but he had his older son who worked with him, and his older son understood what was going on. And Gershitzer came to him and says, "I'm in a big bind. I need to pay you, but I can't pay you my monthly rent. I don't know what to do." And the son sort of hid it from his father and tried to say, "I'm sure things will work out and you'll pay us when you can." But one day, the father calls in Gershon Yitzchak, and he says, "I just looked at my books, and I see that you owe us an incredible amount of money. And I do not want to have a big debt like that with you. So I'm giving you 30 days, you got to pay back every penny. And if you don't pay back every penny, I'm going to throw you out, and everything that you have, I'm going to throw out." This was very scary. He had a family, he had married children. What was he going to do? And this all happened in the middle of the winter. In the winter, there was not many people anyways, even in good days. The winter were quiet months. And now it's the middle of winter, and how is he going to be able to pay up his debt? And things were getting very, very bad. The month went by, Geshitzak couldn't pay up his debt. And he had to throw him out. So the priest told the landowner, the squire, the pirates, he said, "What are you going to gain by throwing him out? What are you going to gain? I have a better idea." So the squire said, "What's the better idea?" He says, "Tell him if he doesn't pay by when the time is up, we're taking his son and we're going to convert him to Christianity." When Gershon Yitzchak heard this idea, he came to the pirates crying. To the squire, he came crying. He says, "How could this be? You can't take my son away. I'm going to pay you back. Let me do what I can do." And the squire had no patience for him and started to beat him and his wife up. They had to be carried out of the squire's house. He had no idea what to do. Came the 30 days, and he couldn't pay. So they took his son. Heartbroken, they took his 12-year-old son, David. Him and his wife are broken. He decides, "I have to do something." So he goes and he sells. He looks for a buyer for his inn. He finds a person who's going to buy the inn, but this person gave him a very low price. He had no choice. He said, "Let me at least bring the pirate something." So he put together the money. He sold whatever else he had. It was still not enough. And he was thinking how else he can get some more money. And meanwhile, he was getting reports from the older son of the pirates, what's going on with his son. And he told him and said, "I want to know your son. The priest is trying very hard to convert him. He wants him to eat non-kosher, but your son is standing strong and he's not giving in. But the priest is working very hard and he's beating him." So on one hand, they were proud of their son that he's not giving up his Judaism. On the other hand, they were heartbroken at what their son is going through. And they really did not know what to do. He sold the inn. The guy, meanwhile, the non-Jews started to come back. Now it's not owned by the Jew anymore. Everyone started to come back, and it was busy. And then one day, the new owner of the inn says, I back down. I don't want to have the inn. He says, "But a deal is a deal." So the new owner started to beat him up, and non-Jews started to beat him up. "What do you mean a deal is a deal? You gave me back the inn and give me back my money." Meanwhile, when he sold the inn, there was inventory of whiskey and other things. By now, the inventory was depleted. He had to pay the money to take back the inn, and he has no inventory even to sell. The things got from bad to worse. Meanwhile, he had a friend in the town, Sharia. He had a friend. And this friend, obviously, was praying to God all the time to help me. He had a friend. And this friend, Yaakov Kerpel, heard the whole story, what's happening to his friend Gershon Yitzchak. And he told his wife, we have no children. We can help maybe move around a little bit. We have to help our friend. And he decided to sell everything that he had to bring the money so that the Gershon Yitzchak could pay the landowner and they'll release his son. Because they were talking that they will convert his son by a certain date. So Yaakov Karpel sold everything and he came by and he sat with Gershon Yitzchak and he cried with him and he said, listen, we sold everything. You're a good friend of mine. I want to help you and your son. And he gave and he gave him the money. And he goes to the pirates. He's happy now. He has the money. He'll get his son back. He gives the squire all the money. And the squire says, thank you very much for paying your debts. He says, give me back my son. He says, oh, I can't do that. The priest already decided that he's going to convert him tomorrow. And I can't change it. It's out of my hands. Out of your hands? I paid you up now. What do you mean it's out of your hands? Again, he chased him out of his house. But this Yaakov Karpel was a businessman. And he used to do business in this town. So he knew a number of people. He started to talk to people. He says, this priest is crazy. Taking a Jewish kid. You know, and these people were fond, some of these people were fond of the Jews. Taking a Jewish kid and stealing him and forcing to convert him. What's going on? And the people were all sympathetic. They said, you're right, we didn't know what to do. So he went to the oldest son of the squire, the one who liked Gershon Yitzchak, and he said, it's in your hands. He paid your father up. I gave him all the money. I sold everything I have. He paid your father up. You have to help him. So the son came up with the idea. The son said, I'm going to go to the priest himself. And he went to the priest, and he told the priest, you should know that this whole episode with the David, this boy, this Jewish boy, is getting you a very bad name in the town. People are starting to turn on you. They don't like your tactics. They don't like your ways. I would suggest you give the boy back. And they gave the boy back. The priest hands the boy back, and Yaakov Karpel brings the boy back home. Imagine the joy of Gershon Yitzchak. They don't have money, they don't have nothing, but at least their boy is not going to convert. The great joy in the home. Yaakov Karpel felt he did everything he could, and he went back to Sharia, his town. He's in heavy debt. He doesn't know what to do. Things are not looking good for him. And all of a sudden, one day, the Baal Shem Tov, one of the Baal Shem Tov students, and a student of the Baal Shem Tov, Rav Kahas, shows up to town, and he goes to this Yaakov Karpel's teacher, who taught him all the years, Hersh Leib. And he says, Hersh Leib, I want to know, there's a person in this town. His name is Yaakov Karpel. He says, I know him, he's my student. He was my student before. He did an incredible mitzvah. He saved the Jew from converting. He sold everything he had. And the Baal Shem Tov sent me here that he wants to help him. I need your help. Because we know Yaakov Karpel is too proud. He's not going to take a handout. I need your help. So the teacher thought, and he said, okay, I have an idea. So Hersh Leib didn't even know that his Yaakov Karpel, his student, was capable and did such a great thing. So Hersh Leib tells, give me the money. And he takes the money and he goes to Yaakov Karpel. He says, you know, the Baal Shem Tov, one of his friends who I know, came by the town. He's planning to do a business trip. He's carrying a lot of money. And he has to make a side trip, meanwhile, till he does a business trip. So he wants to leave the money with someone. So I told him, I think you're the most trustworthy person. So he's ready to leave you the money. He's ready to leave you the money. He's ready to leave you the money. He's ready to leave the money with you. And when he comes back, you give him back the money. And if you want to use it meanwhile, you can. So Yaakov Karpel was surprised, but he said, okay. And he took the money, started to open up a store. He started to do business again. And before long, he was doing very well. And as he started to do well, he started to put away some money to pay back this kahas, the one who put the money there. and he established himself again. He became a wealthy man who was regularly giving charity, 10, 20% charity. And then one day he comes home, and his wife was in her 50s already. And his wife said, Yankel, I think I'm pregnant. Didn't have children. I think I'm pregnant. And a few months later, they had a baby boy. This baby boy, they called Yosef Yitzchak, who was the uncle of the Alter Rebbe. So this is a story, a tremendous story of how a Jew went out of his way. We know that Tzion b'mishpat tipadav shaveh b'tzedakah, and this time we say that through charity and Torah, a person we bring back redemption to ourselves. We bring back the rebuilding of the Beis Hamikdash. Here's a person who went out all the way for tzedakah to save a Jew from being converted, and how Hashem blessed him. They not only paid him back for what he did, but he had a child who became a great man and the uncle of the great Alter Rebbe, the founder of the Hasidic movement. And this is, again, in these weeks, the emphasis is on actions, on mitzvahs, on tzedakah, on helping people physically, materially, in any way, being there for other people, and sharing with them. May Hashem help that may we ask Hashem that He should give us the biggest tzedakah, the biggest charity, is to bring us the Geula, bring us Mashiach Tzidkenu quickly in our days, and we'll have all of the blessings for Am Yisrael, for the Jewish people, and for the entire world. So we'll sing. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Atishvi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Akiladi B'meira B'yameinu Mashiach David B'meira Yameinu Yavayeinu Mashiach Ben David Mashiach Ben David. Shavua Tov. Shavua Tov. Thank you for joining.
Shavua Tov.
Adam, Sharon, everybody. So nice to see you all.
Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov. I will see you all soon.
Be well. Take
Be
care.
well.
Shavua